Welcome to DIYEasyCrafts.com. How to carve a birchwood Santa face. Now we're going to use a dremel grinder as the main tool to carve this Santa face onto a birchwood piece of firewood. The process is very simple. It does use a few different attachments for the dremel or bits for the dremel, but you don't really have to be an artist in order to make these Christmas decorations. I started out with a Dremel kit, which I got on eBay. You can also find them on Amazon. And it has a variety of these little router bits. I'm going to use this coarse bit to do the majority of the rough material removing and also to get the basic shape of the Santa face. And I'll show you how each one of these is used. I'm going to use a smaller diameter bit with a flattened surface in order to make the more detailed outlines around the mustache and the nose and the eyebrows. I can also use the corner of that bit in order to make some of the grooves on the beard. Also on the beard, I can use a cutoff wheel to create hairlines. And I'll use that same cutoff wheel on the mustache as well as on the eyebrows. I'm going to use this a circular bit in order to create these divots on Santa's brim of his hat and also on the little ball at the end of the hat, and then just a drum sanding wheel in order to smooth out all of the rough surfaces. So we're going to start with a birchwood log. I'm using a angle grinder or a disc grinder with a flap sanding wheel just to remove a portion of the bark, exposing the wood beneath it, and I will then draw that Santa outline on that exposed wood. You could do this whole process with a Dremel. It would just take a little bit longer. Now, you don't really have to be an artist to make these things. I start with the brim of the hat, and then I draw the hat onto that exposed section of the wood, and then working down from there, I just basically pencil in a nose. I just really want to give yourself an outline. The eyebrows, and these are all features that we're going to carve out with the Dremel grinder. Probably the most important distinguishing feature is the mustache, the handlebar mustache. Little mouth below it. And then I will pencil in where the eyes go. And then also just a circle for the cheeks. You don't have to go, be real detailed with this drawing. In fact, I'm probably going to have to draw it again because we're going to remove some of this material. So right from the start, while I still have that disc grinder out or angle grinder out, I'm going to remove some of the material just below the nose. The nose is what's going to protrude furthest from the face, and that's achieved by removing the material below the nose. While I've got that grinder out, I'm also going to remove some material on Santa's hat, and I'm just going to follow the outline of the brim of the hat, just carefully following that edge. And once that line is established, then I'll also just sand down some of the material above that hat. And then you don't have to, but it certainly makes it easier, especially with this flap sanding wheel, is I'm going to remove some material, the bridge of the nose. Kind of angles down, so I'm going to remove some of the material from the bridge of the nose right up to the bottom of the eyebrows with that flap sanding wheel while I've got that disc grinder out. So here I'm just refining the line for the top edge of the hat or the brim of the hat, and now I'm just removing some material, the bridge of the nose, just underneath or the underside edge of the eyebrows. And I'll give you a side view of this in a second. And again, all of this could be done with the Dremel, just a lot faster, using a flap sanding wheel. So now I'm going onto the Dremel, and I'm using the rougher of the routering bits, and I'm just going to start to remove material, in this case right between the eyebrows, the base of the nose, and then I'm just going to really work my way around the face, outlining the eyebrows, outlining the brim of the hat, and then I'll eventually go down the nose. This whole process really doesn't take that long. This Dremel routering bits really make quick work out of this. You can probably carve an entire face in under an hour, certainly in under an hour. So I'm just creating a groove above the eyebrows, in between the eyebrows and the brim of the hat, outlining the bottom edge of the eyebrows, and then I'm going to come down along the side of the nose. And this is just going to be the rough outline of these features. I will go back with a different tool and just kind of refine those lines a little bit. But this removes the majority of the material and gives us the basic outline of the face and of each of the key features. The nose, the mustache, the eyebrows, the rim of the hat. And now I'm going to start to outline the mustache. And everything with the Dremel is done in just very short strokes, controlled strokes. You don't want to get carried away. You don't want to make any real large movements where you could grind away a portion that you don't want to grind away. Don't worry about all these rough edges. Little sanding tool at the end will clear that up very, very quickly. So now I've got the smaller of the routering tools. It does have a flat top surface, and I'm using that just to refine the outlines, give a little bit of a more crisp edge. And I can use the sides of that same tool in order to round over or remove some additional material. I'm back to the larger router now, and I'm just outlining the hat and the ball at the end of the hat. Don't worry about all these rough edges and burrs. I'll show you a very easy way to remove those burrs later on. This is a little drum sanding wheel. The drum sanding wheel is great. It really smooths out a lot of the surfaces very nicely. I use this on the cheeks of Santa as well as on the hat. You don't really have to use it on the brim of the hat or the mustache or the beard, because those are all going to be textured. But on the cheeks, it really smoothed out everything very, very quickly and very nicely. You can also use the corner or the edge of that drum sanding wheel to refine some of the lines. You can follow an edge pretty nicely with that. So again, I've got the basic shapes outlined. I'm just going to go back with a smaller tool. I'm going to refine them. I'm going to remove some material from the cheeks. I'm going to make the nose stand out a little bit more, or be more refined, and go over the outline to the mustache. Then I'm going to start adding some additional detail. So with the corner edge of that same routering tool, I'm going to create some grooves for the beard. You could do these straight down. I'm kind of going for like a wind-blown look, so I'm going to have everything go off to Santa's left side. And individual preference, you could put as many or as few of these groove lines as you want. We are going to enhance that beard with some cut lines or hair lines. This is the tool that I use to remove most of the burrs and also to do some additional sanding. It's one of the little wire buffing wheels that come with most Dremel grinders, and it just really does a nice job removing the burrs. This is that small round-tipped bit that I'm using to create the divots on the brim of Santa's hat, and also on the cotton ball at the end of the hat. It just adds a little bit of texture, makes that that features stand out a little bit. A very quick process. And then I'm using a smaller bit to create the Santa's eyes. And when I'm all done, I went back over the whole outline of Santa's face with that same flap sanding wheel and an angle grinder, or as they call it locally, a disc grinder. And this just makes that whole face kind of pop out a little bit. In addition to this, the only thing I did to preserve it was I did use some oil on the wood. I used a butcher's block oil. I soaked the face completely, and that'll help preserve the wood, help prevent it from cracking. But really, it's a very easy do-it-yourself dremel grinder carved Santa Claus face Christmas decoration. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I ask that you please give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please check us out on the web at DIYEasyCrafts.com. Check out our other how-to videos and our other do-it-yourself Christmas decorations.